Certain discoveries have been made that profoundly alter the ways in which we think about ourselves and the universe and our place in it. And just such a discovery today is the phenomenon of orbs. People all over the world have been capturing these objects which look like spheres in their pictures. The variety of orb forms that we can photograph is absolutely amazing. I mean, you think you've seen it all, and then one day, you know, images more startling and more radically new appear out of nowhere. And people who have treasured terms such as soul and spirit and the life beyond and paradise and heaven have much to rejoice in, because now we are beginning to get a glimpse into realities and dimensions that enable us to put a marvelous understanding into those realities which was never possible for us to do before. Because with the orb phenomenon for the first time, we're beginning to have an access that any person on this earth, even a child, can do. Though the world undoubtedly needs compassion and love, we're fooling ourselves if we think we can have compassion and love without power. And by power, I do not mean power over others, but power over myself, so that I'm no longer at the mercy of my crippling emotions and limitations. There is much more to you and me, but we have hypnotized ourselves into believing that that is all that there is. That is the permanent message of the orb phenomenon.
Tonight we're going to talk about the light orbs. You're going to be seeing many of them and little of me. I have a picture of one of our friends here next to me, and it's been a beautiful journey for me to become ever more acquainted with them, and it's been years and years. It's so fun to watch how famous they're becoming in the last year or so. I was first introduced to the orbs, probably 10 years ago, by a website that doesn't exist any longer. And I kind of fell upon it, as you do when you're surfing on the internet for something and all of a sudden you find yourself someplace else. And after reading what was on that website, and the words of the young man who had created the website said that the orbs had told him that they were available at any time in any place. So I thought, well, if they're available for him, they can certainly be available for me. At that time, I was conducting a meditation group once a week downtown. And as we all sat in meditation that night, without saying anything to anyone else, I simply, during my meditative state, summoned the orbs. I asked them to communicate with me. And they did. Suddenly, in my mind's eye, I had 3 orbs and information that I knew I did not know, using words that I wasn't too sure what they meant, and basically a download of how the universe works. This lasted for about an hour, and after the hour was up and I was telling everyone that they could go ahead and come out of the meditative state, I asked the orbs to leave, that they could go now. And they didn't. They said that they would be there with me always, that they were now part of me, part of my life. And this has become true. As the years went by, I eventually began seeing them, and being able to see them with my naked eye without the camera was quite a delight. An enormous one appeared in my bedroom and literally just traversed through the room very slowly, sort of like it was on vacation. So time went by, and I played with them, I talked with them, and not a lot of people were talking about orbs then. And then one day, August of 2004, I was at La Push on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State, and they were everywhere. So I asked them, why they were so prevalent and why there were so many of them, and they said, because we're trying to get your attention. And I said, well, what do you want? And they said, we want you to speak for us. We want to give you words, and you already do soul readings, so we want you to do what you can call orb readings, and we will tell people what we see for them from our perspective rather than from theirs. In other words, they were going to give us information from their world rather than from our world. So I said, well, that's fine, but I need to know who you are in a way that I can describe to people, because they're going to wonder where this information is coming from. And they said, we are the guardian of your soul. I wasn't too sure what that meant until I posted it on my webpage and let people know I was doing orb readings. And a lady emailed me from Canada telling me that just before her son passed away, he said he was going to become a guardian of the soul. And then she sent me these pictures that showed her younger son constantly surrounded by this enormous orb of light. And I realized that the orb of light was his older brother. Now, a lot of people want to know what the orbs are made of. You know, what kind of bodies do they have? As close as science, as we know it, has been able to get, they are plasmoids, which is to say that their electrons in the atoms that compose them are free-floating. Our atoms have electrons that are bound within the atomic structure. Plasmoids are what is called ionized. The electrons are free. So, for instance, if you take a picture of one, as the photons from the camera approach the free electron, it accelerates in its vibration. Its frequency increases just for a nanosecond. As it does that and then goes and collapses back into its original state, the energy it gives off is the fluorescence we see that we are calling the orbs. So what it actually does is it ignites their bodies with light so that we can see the shape that they are in. And there's different shapes. There's round ones, there's pyramid shapes, there's triangles, there's different kinds, and usually orbs are round, so we call them orbs. That's how they work. That doesn't mean that that is who they are. It is only our description of them from our own scientific basis. It does not also answer the question of how do we see them then when we're simply seeing them with our naked eye, because we're not sending them any accelerated photons at that time. We're simply viewing them. So there's still a lot of questions. And for myself, I feel like the questions don't need to be answered. They embody compassion, joy, grace, understanding, and humor. What more could you ask for? Is it that important for us to know what they are made of? It's the linear, egoic mind that says, I have to know. When in all reality, we don't. The acceptance of them into our world is our blessing. So I encourage you to do what I call orb hunting. Take your cameras out and shoot them into the light, see what you get. Shoot them into the dark, inside, outside, around people, around pets. And know that as you call them, they will come. If you would like to hear what they have to say to you through me, I welcome the opportunity to transmit messages to you and for you. They are much fun. I enjoy it very much. So I hope this has helped you to understand a little bit more about what the light orbs are. And if you have any questions, my email address is at the end of this film, and please feel free to email me. Namaste.